a thing, is it right or is it wrong, really? Factually speaking, what is our criterion for determining right and wrong? It can't be emotion, because emotion blinds. We have to do it on the basis of knowledge, correct knowledge. So, we have to develop the correct knowledge of Allah, the correct knowledge of the Sunnah, and in the process, we have to eliminate from ourselves the vestiges of Dhatu Anwat. Meaning, we have to look into ourselves and into our practices and remove those practices which are from pre-Islamic times, which we have inherited, which we have adopted from the cultures around us, etc. Some of these practices may seem very simple. Some of them may seem very big. But we have to know that no matter how small things are, for us to make a big change, we have to be able to make small changes. Because if we find difficulty in making small changes, you can be sure we're not going to be able to make the big change. So, when knowledge comes to us on a personal level, that knowledge may be about simple, small things. In terms of men, that knowledge may be, brother, grow your beard. Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, he said in Sahih Bukhari, grow your beards and trim your mustache. So some brothers say, this is not important. It's not an important part of the religion. Islam is in the heart. You must be sincere, everything else. This is what needs to be. These outward things are not important. But one has to question oneself. Is Islam only inward, or is it both inward and outward? Why are we so reluctant? Why are we so unwilling to do something so basic when there's clear instruction for us? Or another person may say, brother, your pants are below your ankles. Raise your pants above your ankles. Brother, what is this? Is this all the religion is? It's just about your short pants or long pants? Come on, man. This is more important things. There's an atomic bomb being developed here in India and one in Pakistan, and what's going to happen? And you're going to tell me about shortening my pants? We have to question here. You see, this is a small thing. It may seem to be insignificant. But Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, he said in authentic hadith, that what is below the ankle is in the hellfire. He made a big thing of it. So it is not the person who comes and passes this information to us. We should not respond to, why are you making such a big thing about such a small thing? No. Prophet Muhammad ﷺ made a big thing about it. And we have to question ourselves. Why is it such a problem for us to shorten our pants? Brother says, the hadith, when it spoke about Abu Bakr, it said, one who drags his garment or lets it below the ankle out of pride. So I'm not doing it out of pride. It's not pride. He said, brother, why don't you shorten the pants? Look into yourself. Is it because you feel that in doing that you will be out of style? You're not in fashion? Is that the reason? Because back in the 60s, everybody wore their pants above the ankle. Okay? That was the style then. Meaning that if you were back in the 60s, you would have no problem wearing it above your ankles. But now, because we are in the 80s, it's not out of style. So what is happening, of course, when you deliberately buy your pants, because you're buying it, and it can be tailored, set, whatever, you're deliberately buying a pants which will now go below your ankle, and you look at yourself in the mirror, and you check your pants and so on, you see, looks good. You feel good. You feel proud to be in fashion. And if you weren't in fashion, you would feel uncomfortable. Think about it. This out of fashion is the fashion of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. And he said, فَمَنْ رَغِبَ عَنْ سُنَّتِي فَلَيْسَ مِنِّي. Whoever loves a way, a fashion other than mine, is not a true follower of mine. Aren't we here loving the ways of the disbelievers? Isn't it their fashion? Isn't it they who put their pants below their ankles? And they did it at a particular period of time, which has to do with historical developments in America when the hippies came out, and the hippies were about letting all hang out, their hair long, everything long, dragging on the ground, everything. And then in the West, you see the West has a way of turning every trend into profitable business. So, long hair became a fashion. Long pants dragging below the ankles became a fashion. So, it was just integrated into the economics of the system. That's the reason. So we have to look at the situation today. These are small things, as I said. They're small things. But if we have difficulty dealing with such small things as this, growing your beard is to stop shaving. It's not doing something you weren't doing, but it's not doing something you were doing. It's always easier to stop doing than to do. And you can't do that. Shortening your, the variety of other things. Similarly, in the case of women, with the hijab, we know what Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said about what is hijab. We know what Allah said about hijab. We all know it is not something new. But yet, our women insist on going around wearing hijab which is so thin you can see what is underneath. So what hijab is this? Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said one of the signs of the last day is that the women will be dressed but undressed. They're wearing clothing, but they may as well not be wearing clothing because you can see what is underneath. Or they're wearing garments, instead of wearing the outer garments which should cover them in loose fashion, etc., they're wearing styles which are tight-fitting. You can see the shapes of their bodies and all this kind of thing. And if they are questioned, so this is our culture. This is Indian style, We're not Egyptians, we're not Saudis, we're not, that's their cultural thing. Of course, imitating their fashion or their way is not required in Islam. What we are required to imitate is the way prescribed by Allah and His Messenger. So, it is essential for us to look back into ourselves and to make these kind of corrections. It's essential for us to look into our families and the role of the families with regards to education, the responsibilities. We have a responsibility to teach our children, to create an environment in the home which is an Islamic environment, which will encourage them to remember Allah. If our environment in the home is television, watching Hindi movies and, singing, dancing, all this wild stuff, and then we wonder when our children want to get out and do these same things, we say, why? This is not Muslim. This is what we have raised them on. We have a responsibility in the home, that area that we control, to establish an Islamic environment. An environment wherein the remembrance of Allah is there. Not to say that this is without fun, without laughter, without, the enjoyment of life. Yes,